Hello children, it's Grandma's story time again, and here we are in your little bedroom that unfortunately you can't stay in at the moment, but all your toys and all the dolls and all the Lego and everything is still here waiting for when you can return. So today I've got Lamb Chop and Rosie Primrose with me because, you know, Rosie Primrose is a little bit like my naughty little sister's dolly, isn't she? Sometimes I get stuck and she can't open it and she's not got any hair, but we love her all the same, don't we? Anyway, so today I'm going to tell you a story about Rosie Primrose. It's called The Fairy Doll, and I think you've probably already heard it before. In fact, I think the last time we heard it, Annabelle was in the back of my car and she was listening to it and she was being very, very good because she is the chief technician and party organiser in the family, and we know that. And I'm very sorry that I didn't mention that the other day. Anyway, here goes. So, right, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. The Fairy Doll. There is the beautiful fairy doll. When I was a little girl, I had a fairy doll that was so beautiful that I never wanted to play with it. It had shiny wings and a shiny crown, and a fairy wand and a sticking out dress with golden stars on it, and it shut its eyes when you laid it down and opened them up when it stood up, and it said, "Mama," if you tipped it forwards. It was so beautiful that I kept it in its box, wrapped up in white paper in the drawer of my mother's wardrobe. I used to go and peep at it whenever I especially wanted to. Now I know that all of you have got dolls and toys and you don't have to put them away and keep them safe like that. So I want you to be very good lately. Because you're staying at home, you need to put everything away. Tidy up your bedroom, Jim. And you, Florence, and Elliot, and also Leon and Sophia. Well, Sophia, yours is quite tidy anyway. And the last time we stayed in Leon's, yes, he tidied it a little bit too. But I think all of you need to be very good at tidying. And listen to me, Miles, you might have plenty of dinosaurs, but you have to put them away in that bucket. Okay, right, let's carry on. Well now, my naughty little sister had a doll too. Her doll was a very poor old thing, with no eyes left and all its nose rubbed off. My naughty little sister called her doll Rosie Primrose. My little sister used to take Rosie Primrose to bed with her, but sometimes, when my naughty little sister was cross, she would smack poor Rosie Primrose and throw her out of bed. I'm sure you don't do that with your dollies, do you? Especially you, Sylvie, you're so good. One day, when my naughty little sister threw Rosie Primrose out of bed, my mother said, "I think I'll take that poor old doll downstairs and put her in the cupboard until you can be kind to her." But my naughty little sister said, "Won't be kind to her." So my mother put Rosie Primrose away in the cupboard for a rest. Can't blame her. Now, what do you think? The very next day, when my mother was doing the ironing, she suddenly said, "Where is that naughty little girl? Where is that naughty sister of yours? I expect she's in mischief because she is so quiet." And that happens sometimes, doesn't it? That's what my mother said. So my mother stopped her ironing and went out into the garden to look for my little sister. But she wasn't in the garden. My mother looked in the shed and she wasn't in the shed. She wasn't in the sitting room or in her bedroom or in the spare room. But when my mother peeped into her own bedroom, there was my naughty little sister looking very cross at being caught. Now, when Louise was a little girl, Leon and Sophia's mummy, she had a little friend called Mandy and they lived next door to each other. Well, one day I could not find Louise, so I went next door to Mandy's mum, who was called Sue, and I said to her, "Have you seen the girls?" No, we couldn't find them anywhere. We hunted the house high and low. We hunted her house high and low. We were looking in the garden, and then, just then, we heard little giggles. And we went and looked, and we were frightened to death because we thought somebody might have stolen them, but they hadn't. Fortunately, they were under the bed, hiding. Cheeky pair. Anyway, you wouldn't do that, would you? Anyway, here we go. The fairy doll's box wasn't in the wardrobe either. It was on the bed, and all the white paper was all over the floor, and there was my naughty little sister holding my fairy doll and making it say, "Mama, Mama, Mama, Mama." My mother was very cross. She said, "That's not your doll. It belongs to your big sister." And my naughty little sister said, "I want it." My mother said, "Put it down on the bed." And my very naughty little sister said, "No." Then my mother was very angry and went to take the doll away from my naughty little sister. But that naughty child ran away with my lovely fairy doll. And well, you remember what she did to poor Rosie Primrose when she was cross, don't you? She threw it out of the window. That lovely, beautiful doll with the golden wings and the shiny crown and the sticking out dress with gold stars on. My naughty little sister had to go straight to bed for that, because she had been really terrible. Now, this is just a story, and I'm sure none of you would do anything like that. And also, we don't like saying naughty and bad, do we? We just say, "Oh dear, look what you've done again." Anyway, my naughty little sister had to go straight to bed for that, because she had been really terrible. My lovely fairy doll had fallen down into the garden, right into a muddy puddle, and its face was broken. I cried and cried, and when my little sister saw the poor fairy doll, she cried and cried too. There's a picture of her crying and crying. She really wasn't as bad a child as all that. She just threw the doll out of the window when she was being mischievous. My naughty little sister was so very sorry that we all forgave her. They were good, weren't they? And my mother said that if she promised to be kind in future, she should have Rosie Primrose back very soon. So my little sister promised hard. Do you know what my kind mother did? She sent the poor fairy doll to the dolls' hospital, and she sent Rosie Primrose there too. And when the two dolls came back, they looked very nice. Now, when I was a little girl, my grandma bought me and my granddad bought me for my birthday one year a twin pram with twin dollies in it. And my mum, who was a very kind mum, and you don't know my mum, but she would love you. Her name was Florence, just like our Florence. Anyway, she made dresses for those dollies, and they were exactly the same. Wasn't I a lucky little girl? But I didn't throw them out of the window. My little sister was a bit sorry to see Rosie Primrose, because Rosie Primrose had a nice face, a new nice face, and some curly hair that hadn't been there for a long, long time. This little Rosie Primrose has got a lovely face, but she could do with some hair. My little sister was never quite happy with the tidy Rosie Primrose until it lost all its hair again and its eyes fell in. But she was always kind to it after that. Aren't we glad? I was glad about my fairy doll though, because it wasn't a fairy anymore. After the window fall, it had a pretty new face and a nice smile with teeth showing, and it still shut its eyes when you laid it down, and it still said, "Mama." There it is, all new. But the fairy clothes had all been spoiled in the muddy puddle, so my mother had made it a nice yellow dress and a bonnet and a white apron, and I called it Annabella. Annabelle, nearly like you. And now that its clothes were not so grand, I could play with it whenever I wanted to. So really, that fairy doll's window fall wasn't so terribly dreadful after all. Well, I hope you've enjoyed story time today, children. I hope that you've all been sitting nicely and listening and being good. And I hope that after this, you're going to do a little tidy up for your mum and dad. So, See you tomorrow.